righty. Welcome to Hello Chaos, a weekly podcast exploring the messy and chaotic lives and minds of founders, entrepreneurs, and innovators. Each week, I get the privilege to speak with founders across the spectrum of business, founders from different industries at different stages, from startups to mature businesses of all shapes and sizes. Our listeners get to hear the real, the raw, the unvarnished viewpoints, getting incredible insights on what it takes to start a business, to scale a business, become a better founder, a CEO, or better business leader. Today, I'm so thrilled to have her on our show. Our guest is Terri Brinston. She is the founder and CEO of My School Nurse and the CEO of Nurturing Wellness Group Foundation. Welcome, Terri. Welcome to the chaos.
Thank you. Happy to be here.
I'm so excited. So you've done a lot. You've got a huge story to tell. So start us out with just getting us level set. What inspired you to start your journey, start your business?
Well, I think, thank you so much, Jennifer, for having me. I'm very excited to be on this show. I think the title of it intrigued me. So I just know.
It's
Oh,
pretty
that,
accurate for our world, right?
right. So I think I read it one day when I was just struggling with something. I was like, I think I wanted to be on this show. But I think my journey actually selected me. I don't know if that makes sense.
Oh, yeah. No,
I
it does make sense. But yeah, I
Yeah,
want to hear more.
I started. I'll start when I believe that it started, which was when I was a young girl. Which was many, many, many years ago. I was a student in an elementary school, and I was sitting in my classroom, minding my own business, excited about being in school. I was a young girl. I was, popular and, just bouncing around. And the teacher, one of the principal and one of these teachers in the district came to the door and asked me to come out into the hallway. And when I came out in the hallway, she said, "Okay, Terri, we're going to be moving you to another classroom." And she said, your test came back and you have some challenges. And so we're going to move you to the special ed classes. And so from that point on, that's what she said. But
Yeah.
what I heard was, you're dumb, you're stupid, you're ugly. Nobody's going to like you anymore because you're going to be separated from everybody
Yeah.
from this point on. And so I think that was the beginning of my journey,
Mm.
because it really made me start questioning who I was
Yeah.
as a young person. And
Where you fit
through
in. How do you
Yeah, where do I
belong?
fit?
Yeah.
My whole identity was changed at that point. And so then I started, adding certain things or believing this lie that I told myself by,
Yeah.
I'm on the playground and people running away from me. Okay, nobody likes me anymore. It's like all of these things. And so, of course, I carried that through high school and became very, very self-conscious and very low self-esteem, and tried to hide my secret. And that's how I really placed it, that this was my secret, that I was a struggling reader.
Mm.
So I must be stupid and I don't want anyone to know this. And so I really embraced this. And so my outline, my viewpoint for my life was going to be just, I don't know, just it was not going to be bright.
Right.
And so that's where my journey
So,
started.
how did what inspired you to start then My School Nurse? Because
Yeah,
I'm so intrigued with that concept, and I know other listeners will be too. So, what
right.
started that?
Well, I became a nurse, obviously. My dad, after I graduated from high school, my dad uh, had cancer and he was on
Mm.
hospice. And I had an opportunity to care for him. And he said, "Terri, you should be a nurse."
Yeah, it's
And so,
it is. My mom was a nurse
okay,
um,
okay,
for 50 years before she retired. She
right,
was geriatric,
okay, yeah,
worked in nursing homes and all
uh-huh.
that. But it's a true gift of somebody. that
Absolutely.
not it's not everybody's built for that.
Mhm.
I grew up in my dad was all I grew up in group homes
Mhm.
or nursing homes.
Okay.
And all my other siblings are in healthcare in some form or fashion.
Mhm.
You know, because we all lived it. Like my brother's a CPA, but he only works for his accounting firm, only does nursing home clients
Nice. Okay.
across the country. My sister's was a special needs teacher. She's now runs a school
Uh-huh.
for that. And my other brother is works in at Abbott Labs. Yes. So we all kind of have it, but
Right.
I was like, I got into marketing as in a healthcare firm. That's how I kind of entered the space. But I knew early on, like
Uh-huh.
working in nursing homes, I don't like the smells. I can't deal with like drool. I
Oh,
had a issue with with drool and body fluids or whatever. It was just,
right.
and my mom was like, ew, ugh, clearly this will never be your path. And I'm like, no, but my mom was so protective
Mm.
of her industry, the nurse's role, um, and making sure that she was always like, it's not for everybody. It's truly a gift.
Right,
Um,
right.
so the fact that
Yeah,
your dad, yeah, it is.
absolutely,
Your dad was
absolutely. So
like saw that in you.
God bless all your family,
Yeah,
'cause, that is it's not a it's a
it's,
very difficult profession, and especially as, as a young woman who had that type of me specifically having those low, self-esteem and self-limiting beliefs and things like that, but when my dad told me, when I was caring for him, um, with my mom, he looked at me and he said, "You should be a nurse."
yeah.
And I was like, "Me? I'm the dumb one. What do you mean I should be the nurse?" So anyway, so from that, that's where the seed was planted,
Mm,
for me to go into nursing. And of course, I had to work really hard to go through school and, to achieve this. But I was working as a pediatric nurse
oh,
and, raising my family, and had an opportunity to, look at another option. I miss my kids. Nurses work long hours,
yeah, they
12-hour
do.
shifts, and
Yep.
my babies, they were, just growing up, and I was missing it all. And
Yeah.
so I had an opportunity to work at a school to teach a
Oh,
health occupation class. And so I took that position, but I started recognizing the school that I currently was working at didn't have a school nurse. And so anytime something happened, somebody passes
you're
out,
like,
call
oh,
Miss
go to
Brinston. And I'm
Terry.
like, I'm teaching, you know. And so, I'm running down the hallway like, okay, we need to handle this. So I started kind of subcontracting myself out
Mm,
to the school that I was working with, my nursing services and education and policy procedure development and
yeah.
things like that, and helping them develop like healthy living advisory committees and different things. And so
Yeah.
I said, hey, this school needs it. I wonder if anyone else needs this type of service. And
Right.
so that's when I, started my school nurse. And
Well,
so
that.
what I do is I help schools to make sure that they have the proper policies and
Mm,
procedures, make sure that they have, that they're following the federal and state guidelines. I make sure that their staff is trained and
mm,
that their parents is aware of
yeah.
what type of support the schools can provide them. So it's a win-win. I work with, nurses and, social workers. I have a gamut of professionals who we subcontract for schools. So they may not need a full-time nurse or can't afford one, but we
Right. That's
make
what I
sure
was
that
like.
they have
What a
those
smart
services.
business model to go into, especially with budgets being scrutinized and stuff, to come at it from a fractional perspective
Right.
while still being compliant and providing care for the students. I mean, I think
Right.
that's fantastic.
It's people don't really realize, and I challenge your listeners to ask the question.
Mm,
Ask your school district, do they have a nurse? And you would be surprised at how many people do not. They
yeah.
they provide nurses services, and a lot of times what I'm finding when we go into schools is the secretaries are providing the services.
That's
But
exactly and I think it's a false assumption that we
mhm,
make because we
mhm,
think, oh well, when I was in school, there was a nurse
right.
and staff, and yeah, and we had to learn that with. I have 4 kids, so my second had a lot of allergies, so it was as we started moving to different schools,
Mhm,
how quickly we realized of not every school had a nurse on site. Not every school knew how to deal with like the EpiPens and,
right.
um, uh, how to administer, even just to keep one on file.
Mhm.
Um, so
So
yeah,
much
it
is
was kind of like,
different.
whoa, 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 whoa. I
Yeah,
grew up with a school nurse on staff. So yeah,
yeah,
I would yeah, ask all listeners who have kids. You need to. I guarantee you would be surprised if
yeah,
you ask your
yeah.
school.
Prior to COVID, I think 76% of schools did not have a school nurse, which is
Oh,
very scary,
yeah,
especially when we have these children. Kids get a lot sicker than we did.
yeah,
They got a lot going on. And so, having even a consultant,
yeah,
to help to make sure that the staff is trained, to make sure you have your policies in place. And so,
right.
we work with schools all over the country. We come in, and if they do need a nurse, we find, or need services, mental health services or counselors or whatever, we find the professionals in their area that they are
Okay,
vested in their community. So that's what I do. I love it. I love it. I love it because the kid is the reason why we're in school. These are the children. We have to serve them, and so
right.
we have to serve them holistically. We want them there. We want them there safe. And so it's our responsibility to make sure that that they have everything that they need. And so I take care of that.
Yeah,
Administrators, they're so busy doing
they got a
administrative stuff,
lot of other stuff.
right?
Yeah.
Like I have my master's in school administration. So I know
So
what
you're like, I
administrators
speak
do.
their language.
Right, I understand them, right? So, what I do is I'm asking the administrators to okay, you don't need nothing else on your plate. Let me figure out that stuff for
Mm,
you, your health and wellness and your training, and provide those services for you, so you don't have to. So
yeah.
that's what I do.
So I know you said that you love taking care of the kids. What's been the most rewarding part of the journey? Is it doing it for the kids, or is there a special moment that you're like, this is why I do it?
I will say that I'll give you a story if you don't
Yeah,
mind. Okay,
please.
so I was working at this one school, and as a teacher, I was working as a teacher, and they called me out of the classroom because they had a student that had passed out.
Mm,
So I'm running down the hallway, and this is what I'm seeing. I'm seeing this young lady, unconscious, being held up by one of the teachers, pouring pop in her mouth, like literally pouring Coca-Cola in her
yeah.
mouth.
I was
So
like, you're
this
from the
child,
Midwest. I was like,
you got
you're
it, because I said
you're from the Midwest. I was like,
soda.
soda. Uh,
That was my telltale.
that was your telltale. That was like so I grew up in North Carolina, and
Okay,
then I
okay.
moved to the Midwest, and that was like we called uh Coca like Coke, whether it was, and it would be, well, what kind of Coke do you want? And you're like, well, I want a Dr. Pepper or a Cheerwine or a Sprite. That
Okay.
was Coke was a universal,
For
language for soda. And when I moved up to Indiana, it was pop, pop, pop. I'm like, what's pop? When I was like, when you said that, I'm like, oh, you're from the Midwest.
yes, Michigan. We say pop.
That's right. I still now I'll use it down here. Now I'm back down in the South after
Okay, okay.
but now it's like so it's fun to hear that because I've used that and people
Uh,
are looking at me like you're not from around here.
That's
Okay, sorry. That's
that's
funny.
okay. That makes more sense. I don't know. Pop. I mean, I'm talking about Coke and not
That's right.
Fago. Not okay. Anyway,
Yeah.
so yeah.
So,
Thank you for bringing that up. Okay, so yeah, I'm from Michigan, which I'm very cold right now. We're about to get
yeah.
hit with a horrible snowstorm tonight. Um, so we
Don't
had an
envy
ice storm
you.
last week. So
Yeah.
anyway,
It was 70 degrees here. We had our little summer
oh,
blip in
stop it.
February.
That is just cruel.
Yeah, no.
That is cruel.
All right, I'm sorry. I'll get us back on
That's
track. So
okay.
you walked in and a student was or a teacher was shoving soda pop down some kid's
Down
throat.
there, Coca-Cola down
Hmm.
their throat. Now the child is unconscious.
Oh,
She's lifting him up, like holding her, well, it was a girl, holding her up and pouring this liquid in her mouth while she was unconscious.
oh my
So
goodness.
I'm looking at this and saying,
Oh,
what in the, you know what?
yeah.
And I'm like running down the hallway because I'm thinking,
Oh,
stop, stop. So the rationale for this act was that the teacher or the staff member, they knew that this child was diabetic.
mm,
So they was assuming that she was having a diabetic episode and she needed some type of glucose or sugar.
right.
So that she was like, "Oh, let's give her some sugar." Okay.
Right.
Wrong. Okay. We don't never put anything in someone's mouth when they are
Or
unconscious, for
unconscious. Yeah.
one. And so anyway, so you say, what is my aha moment or what was, I think that knowing that what I do can ultimately save someone's life.
Yeah.
We take it lightly, and sometimes schools or people, we are really reactive,
Right.
and sometimes schools are very reactive to the point where you can lose someone's life before you say, oh, maybe we need to change our policies to address
Right.
this.
Yeah.
And so I think that that's my, I just think we need to be proactive, and
Yeah.
that's what
Well,
motivates me.
and not just save lives, but also, I mean, that's key, but just everyday peace of mind to
Yes.
parents. And I think from a teacher's perspective, I would want to know that I'm well trained or informed so
Right.
that I feel protective and safe as an employee of that school.
Absolutely. Because
Yeah.
I mean, teachers give so much,
Yeah.
they give their time, their talent, they give extra time, they give their money. And, we know that they love what they do and they love the students. You're right. And they want to provide quality support for their
Yeah.
students. Of course, this staff member her intent was not to do harm,
No.
but she was doing what she
She
thought
panicked.
was
She
right.
probably like,
Absolutely.
just
Absolutely.
panicked and not trained in the
Right.
way to like
Absolutely.
crisis.
Hmm.
Um, so as you started, my school nurse, what challenges did you face kind of creating that to be a business, like a true scalable business?
The main challenge that I run into is administrators understanding that they need me.
Mm,
When you are starting
proactively
a
need you
new,
versus an incident creates the need.
right,
Mm,
right. So, when you're tapping into something that's a little new, and I kind of look at what I do as new. Okay, we have school nurses, yes.
right,
It is a field. I'm not trying to put school nurses out of business, but some schools they just can't afford it,
right,
and another thing, a lot of times they don't know what they don't know. And so they're looking at, okay, I have to get these test scores up. I got to
right,
get this attendance. I got to get this behavior issue under control. I have to, handle my budget. And so it's just not on their radar because that's not their area of expertise.
right.
And I understand that. So getting the market to really embrace what I do as a as needed is the most challenging thing, I
Hmm.
think. Yeah.
Um, what's been like? Did you have any preconceptions going in of like, I'm going to start a business? Oh, I've heard it's this way. And then you got in there and you're like, they've all lied. Have you had any of those moments or any kind of myths that you would debunk?
Um, Well, I kind of looked at it as when I started going into business. No, I did not want to go into business. I had no idea what starting a business was, right? I figured, oh, you guys need me. Let me go in and provide this.
Right.
Had no idea that I had to
If
do the
I build it, they
marketing,
will come.
right? I just opened my door and
Right.
put an
Why,
email out,
why are
you
they
know?
not all flooding in here?
No, that didn't happen. Never in my life that I think that I had to educate my consumer, right, on my
Yeah.
product, or I had to have, because I know my content. I know what I do. I've
Right.
been doing it for, 30 years. But what I don't know is I still struggle with because I'm not comfortable with marketing
Yeah.
and selling myself
Yeah.
and and the services that I provide, so no. I really still think I'm being initiated. You have those. It's like I'm looking around, am I being punked? Like, what
That's
is
right.
going on?
Why
Why am
don't
I
they
still struggling?
understand?
It's like, no, it's hard. It's hard work. And
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's not easy at all, and I was not expecting it to be this hard.
Yeah.
Hmm.
I think that's it's an echo that we hear
Hmm.
across kind of the entrepreneurship of, whoa, this is a lot harder than I thought.
Yeah.
And also just from a, founder to founder, I think, um, because if we're the face of that brand,
Hmm.
it puts us in a got to get ready to be uncomfortable, to put ourselves out there and share the expertise. I've been going through that kind of evolution myself as my own little self discovery after a decade of running the business of, oh,
Yeah.
I had coaches that were, Jennifer, you have a lot of information, you need to push it out there. And I was like, but that's why they want to do business with me. They're like, yeah, but they don't know what you know.
Right.
And like, ugh. So that's been my evolution. So I feel your pain. Um,
One of
so,
the
oh,
things
go
I
ahead.
wanted to speak to that, if you don't mind.
Yeah, please.
Um, you know, me sharing my background and how shy I was, and going into business, becoming a nurse was enough, but now I have to put myself out there. And so for many, many years, my face was nowhere. Like, my face was not on my website.
I know.
I had a lot of people that I had to go out and speak for me, but I realized that no one can speak for me. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? 'Cause no one really has the experience or the passion the way that I do. And so I recognized that I had to come out around and speak to my clients and to let people know who I am. And I
Mm-hmm.
think that that was really a turning point. I'm starting to see
The aha
people are
moment
starting to
for you.
recognize me, and they're like, "Oh,
Yeah.
that's Terry. That's the nurse." And it's like before, it was like, "Okay, this company, what is that? What is it? What's my school nurse? Why do I need it?"
Right.
And so, yes, you do have to. Yeah, you got to come out.
I know. I'm telling you, that was my,
Yeah,
I'm in that journey, in that
yeah.
space right now of like
I'm with
putting
you,
myself
Jennifer.
out there. It's,
I'm with you.
it's way hard.
We're
I don't think
together.
people realize, because I always thought, no, I'm building a brand. I
Hmm.
have the company. I don't need to have I want it to be bigger than me. So I
Right,
didn't want to really wrap the brand around me.
right.
Um, and now I've
That makes
realized
sense.
it. Yeah, and so now we've realized, Bright, and the agency that I own, um, has its own voice and tone and messaging
Hmm.
strategy, but I bring a different element, and I have my own. So I'm lifting up Bright, but I've got to put myself out there to give some more credibility
Right.
to both. So it's been a long journey.
Yes.
Chandler's laughing at me going, because he hears me bitch about this all the time. Like, I'm, because it's uncomfortable I'm an introvert. I know Chandler's is also a huge introvert. I'm pushing him to go, you need to put yourself out there too, build your
Right.
personal brand. He's like, no, it's hard. It's really
As he
hard to,
holds his hand out and
I
say,
know he just does a little wave of the
right.
to the side. Um, But yeah, I just one of the best, the advice that I've heard over the years is, John Bird, entrepreneurship and building a business to scale, it's you got to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. I mean, I took that as, yeah, I'm dealing, you deal with, I'm not an accountant, but I got to know the numbers and I've got to become
Right.
kind of a financier, the financial person. And you're
Mhm.
not really a operations person, but you got to know the operations to build your systems and your processes. So, you know, being in
That's
those
so
uncomfortable
uncomfortable.
spaces, or as you grow and scale, another founder put it, I just was like, with every level, every milestone you hit, growth, you get into uncomfortable spaces because you've got to expand and adapt and pivot. But somebody else said, "Oh no, new level, new devil." And I'm like, "Oh, I love that phrase because it's so true."
It's so true.
And then I've kind of adopted as part of our world, we learn, we unlearn, we relearn, and then we rinse and repeat over
Yeah.
and over again.
Never
But
arrive. I'm ready
yeah,
to arrive.
I'm ready. Aren't we all? I'm ready. I'm so ready. Um,
Oh,
we'll
that's
get there,
funny.
Terry. I'm telling you, we'll get there.
That's my prayer for sure.
But because I think if we, and this is, and this is what I'm learning. And when I say like I'm really new, so I've had my business for over 10 years, right? It's
Okay.
only been in the last 2 months, 3 months that
Mhm.
I've put myself out there. The
Mhm.
podcast has helped. So we've been doing the podcast for 2.5 years.
Okay.
Um, that was me putting myself out there, having founder conversations, and it's helped me
Right.
just hearing other people's journeys and knowing that we're kind of building a more connected community. Hearing the similar stories, we all have our very similar themes and issues. I find it fascinating. We're trying to calculate this from a stats perspective,
Mm.
but I would say 90% of the founders that we talk to, and we've talked to hundreds,
Mhm.
we've heard more that are like us, Terry,
Mhm.
introverted,
Mm. Mm.
or I call ourselves like maybe learned extroverts is what the terminology we're hearing of, because as founders, we've had to learn to be
Right.
more extroverted. It drains the crap out of us
It
like
does.
no other. Like Wednesdays are my recording days. I do multiple recording sessions. I
Uh-huh.
am zapped after this because I like, but I
'Cause you're
enjoy
out.
it, but it
Yeah.
zaps
Yeah.
me. Right.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, it's just, we are going to arrive because
Yeah.
I'm feeling it. I'm feeling even the 3 month momentum.
Well,
We're getting out there.
that's funny you say that. Since COVID, I wanna say, I had a near-death experience with
Oh,
COVID. I got really, really sick.
oh,
But since
did you
that,
say because of COVID that you
yeah,
were,
I had COVID,
oh,
and was on a ventilator in the hospital for a month, and this was in the
oh,
very, very beginning.
when they didn't really have all the medication and all
Right.
that. Oh my goodness.
They didn't know what was going on, and people were dying,
Ugh,
just and so
scary.
after my healing process from that, that's when I started kind of feeling a sense of urgency.
Mm,
We all have our point in time when we recognize that we gotta do what we gotta do. And I started doing podcasts. So I started, attending different shows like yours
yeah.
and speaking and telling my story. And like you, that's making me come out a little bit more,
Yeah.
and
Get more
so
comfortable.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So yep,
Um, what is something that you found during your whole journey? Because you've been doing this for over a decade, like
yeah,
well over a decade.
yeah.
Um, what what has surprised you the most about yourself?
Ooh, about myself. Um, I guess my resilience. I
Mm.
think that in the beginning, when I first started, I would get, knocked down because of a no, and it would take me out for a couple of months.
Yeah.
It's like, man, because,
Well,
it's so personal.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's personal. Like they didn't reject the product or my services, they rejected me.
Well, that's
And
how we
that's how
take
I
it.
internalized
That's
it,
right.
right? You know, and I think that if I look at my growth over the years, I don't, it's like, okay, well, all right, well, let me go on. This is not for you.
Yeah.
And so I don't take it as personal. And I think that that would be the biggest difference in me that really kind of, because I'm a very sensitive person.
Mm,
Like I'm a nurse. I care about
that's right.
everything.
You are.
I'm just very too much to the point. Just sensitive. I love people. And it's like I care what you think and what you
Right.
say. And so for me to get to that point where I'm okay with you saying no,
Yeah.
that's growth for me.
That's right. I think we all had to realize either it's not a right fit for
Right.
whatever, and I've had to learn of I'm not a right fit for everybody. People
Right.
might go, Jennifer, you're not the right, Bright's not the right fit for us. But I've also gone, I can recognize when this is not going to be a good fit
Right.
for
And
all
it's
of us.
okay.
And it's
And it's okay that
okay.
it's not a good fit for me.
That's
You know what
right.
I'm saying?
Cause
Before it was like, okay, everybody,
that's
of
right.
course, but you're right. I definitely had to get to the point where it's like, you know what? I have an opinion in this
That's right.
and I need to be happy and comfortable and it's just not a good fit for me either. So
That's
that's a
right.
good point. Thanks for
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, Not everybody needs, gets the pleasure, the privilege to work with us.
There you go. Absolutely.
That's right. Let's protect our team.
There you go.
Because yeah, I've had to fire a few clients because of verbally abusive
Mhm.
to our team. People get ugly when it comes to marketing agencies and very disrespectful. And I'm
Mhm.
always like, why are you yelling? We're not curing cancer here. We're putting out an ad campaign of social media. I'm like, let's bring it down.
Yeah.
We're not.
That's something. Yeah.
Um, yeah. And then we're like, I don't think we're the right fit. This is not good for anybody.
Mhm.
We, and we started doing the no asshole rule of, if you're an asshole, we don't want to work with you. Like that's, I think
Yeah.
every business should have that rule.
You know what? I think I'm adopting that.
That's right. Take it. It's my gift to you, Terry. Or I'm gonna flip the last question a little bit. So, what have you recognized about yourself that you wish other people that you recognize about yourself and you love about yourself, but you wish other people recognized more?
Okay, say that again. I'm sorry.
So, what is something that you love about yourself
Mhm.
that you have found that it's something really special that you think like this is a great trait, but not a lot of people recognize it, and you
Mhm.
want other people to kind of recognize that special trait.
Mm. Um, I think I love the fact I'm glad such a Jennifer. This is a great question. I love the fact that I generally care for people.
Hmm.
I think that in our world and where we are, especially now, this is very relevant. I care about people. It doesn't
Yeah.
matter who, what, where, what they're doing, how they're living. I just care about people. And I think that I wish that more people would be like that, to
Yeah.
accept people where they are,
Yeah.
who they are. We don't, and accept and agree is different.
Yeah.
I can accept, that this is who you are, and I'm okay with that. I
Right.
don't have to agree with your views or whatever. It doesn't matter. I accept you and I care for you. And so I
Yeah.
think I would love to see more of that.
That's right.
Hmm.
And be more respectful in that manner.
Yes. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what it comes with. Because when we respect each other, we treat each other well. You
That's
know what I'm
right.
saying? It's very difficult for me to be disrespectful to you if I care for you.
Right.
You know. So
We just need to be more loving.
yeah.
More love. Let's put it out there. Okay, so if you could change two things about your business, I gave you a magic wand. and two things could be changed, what would those two things be?
About my internal business or about the market?
Um, well, if that would change your business, yeah. For my school nurse, like if you were like, these are two things that I would, if I could change about the business.
Um, wow, that's a great question. Um, I think I would, I don't know. I don't know. I think I would have more partners,
Hmm.
you know, that specialize in different things. So, for example, right now, I'm the CEO, and of course, I have people that work with me,
Right.
but I don't really have experts in certain areas that can really, so that we can kind of collaborate. I would love to
To
have
scale
more of
the
a
services.
collaboration.
Ah,
Yeah. So, you know, I'm a nurse, I'm a teacher, you know, I have this experience being in a school, but I wish I had more people in my internal administration
hmm.
that had certain skill sets that we would collaborate a little bit more than
Okay.
me just being the boss
Yeah,
and you just doing what I'm asking you to do. I would love to have changed the structure in that way, if that
that's
makes sense.
interesting. It does make sense. I'm
Yeah.
feeling you.
Hmm.
And then what else would you put? What else would you change?
uh, what else would I change?
When you said the market, are you talking about like
Yeah.
the school systems need to know that they need a school nurse? It's processes. Like
That
it should be a
one, I would just
priority.
go pop a couple of administrators over their heads and say, "You need me.
You smack, smack,
You
smack.
don't know this,
Yeah,
but you need me."
that's right.
So, yeah, I would, you know, I think that the industry, you know, everybody is trying to get their job done,
Yeah,
right? And it's no shade on administrators at all. They got stuff that they need to do, and all of this extra stuff has been piled on them.
yeah.
You know,
Well, and
I mean,
especially like in today's
yeah,
political climate with the threat of
yes,
Department of
losing
Education being,
funding
yeah,
and
funding. Ugh.
they just, you know, they've inherited this mess,
Yeah,
this chaos.
that's right.
Use
They
the
live in
pun,
chaos.
right? They've inherited, and so I'm just trying to lighten their load
Yeah,
because I know that they didn't when they went to school to be an administrator or a teacher, they didn't take on all this stuff that that's being thrown at
yeah,
education right now. And so I understand that and I embrace that. I just wish they would allow me to come in and share what I can do with my community.
yeah. Well,
Yeah.
maybe this podcast will get their attention.
Yes.
We'll put it out there.
Yeah.
Okay, so Terry, if we met a year from now, next February, I'm coming to Michigan. Maybe not.
Okay.
We'll have to meet up somewhere warm. And
Come in the summer.
it's a, what would we be celebrating? What would I be cheering you on with, for toasting a success?
I've arrived.
You've arrived.
Yes.
Let's
Yes.
make that happen.
I want to arrive. And what that looks like is schools are embracing the fact that they need help
Yeah.
and they're receiving the help. And I have a village of healthcare workers that are pouring into these schools and truly helping these young people to reach their full potential.
Ah,
So that is what we're going to
that's what we're
toast.
going to toast for. All
Yeah,
right. We're manifesting it. Put it
there we
out there.
go. I receive it.
All right. So if you had to sum up your entrepreneurial, hate this word, your founder journey in
Okay.
one word, what would that word be?
Grateful.
It's a good one.
I think
Yeah.
grateful. Yeah.
What?
It's had a lot of ups and downs. I've learned a lot. You know, you think as you're going through trials
Mm-hmm.
that, you know, it's just it's hurts, it's painful, it's a
Yeah.
struggle, but once you go through it and you get to the other side, you're able to say, "Oh, that's why I had to go through that because I had this coming up." I
That's
just
right.
kind of look at my journey as being really a big old training ground
Yeah. It's
that
lessons
has
learned.
Yeah.
whether they're lessons or or wins. Like
Right.
they're-
They're
I stopped
win-win.
using failures anymore or fail forward. I'm like,
Right.
not using that anymore. It's
There
just
you go.
lessons.
Just lessons. And some lessons are harder than others,
Yes.
but they're lessons.
Yeah. What's
So
been the biggest lesson for you
the biggest
that you're
lesson
like,
for
I
me,
never want to live through that again?
um, wow. Well, I'll do a little plug.
Yeah.
My biggest, my book. I wrote a book, Grateful for the Journey, Surviving COVID-19, where I talk about my struggle with
Mm.
COVID and how I lost my memory. I started just really,
Whoa.
really quick. I lost my memory, and my doctor wanted me to start journaling so that I can kind of familiarize myself with some
Right.
things.
Was
And
this after so I know you were in the ventilator in the hospital. This
mhm,
was like okay, so you're able to go back at home, but
mhm.
you have no memory or
I had
it's
limited
spotty.
memory.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah. So I couldn't
oof.
remember long-term things. Like I remember I was married eventually. At first, I didn't remember my husband. The only thing I remember was my mom.
Oh, wow.
Um, and so, but I didn't remember the important things. Like I
Uh,
didn't remember why I was a nurse or why I was an educator, or, I couldn't
like
remember
how you got
people.
into that. So
Yeah,
it's
it's
like
like,
having
what?
to
Am I
relearn yourself.
confused? I was looked at my resume and I was like, this is a nut. Like, what are you doing with all of this, and why does this make sense? So, you say what, was the hardest lesson, or what do I regret and I wouldn't go through it again? I don't think there's anything. I think that when I was going through COVID, I had an opportunity to really reflect
Hmm.
over my entire life. And I came to the
It's
realization
kind of a gift.
that, yeah, it was a gift that
Mm.
my entire life was orchestrated,
Mm.
by God, allowing things to happen and closing doors and opening doors. And I could see his hand,
Yeah.
and
It's
so,
amazing. The universe does speak.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So I don't really regret anything. I'm very grateful for all of the trials because it was needed for me right now.
Yeah. It has
So
set you up to arrive.
absolutely. There you go, in a couple of years.
That's right. We're going to get there. Yeah. So if you had to look ahead to the next chapter in your journey, what word would describe that next chapter?
Mm, what word would describe that next chapter? I'll say blessed.
All right.
Yeah,
Why that word? Because you're going to be blessed,
because
or
I'm going to
just
be blessed. Now I got a pretty great life. I'm healthy. I have healthy children. I have a great marriage. I have a grandson.
uh,
I'm employed. I have a roof over my head. And so I just, blessed. I guess that was the word that came to
that's a great word.
mind.
Um, is there advice that you've received from other business owners, founders that you really took to heart and you have applied that you were like, hey, these are some key lessons, some key advice, listeners.
So much. Like, I'm like,
Yeah.
oh my God, I've gotten so,
You're like,
it's like, remember I said, I didn't know what I was doing.
yeah. Most of us don't. Welcome. We're like, welcome to the journey.
It's like I kind of had a pen and pencil glued to my hand for years, just talking to people. And okay, so oh, um, this is, well, I'm sure that there's something better, but this is just what's coming to my mind. The phrase "this too shall pass."
Ah,
you
it's
know,
a good one. It is a good one.
it's
I
like,
think
okay, it's gonna get better.
it
It's gonna,
is.
I'm gonna get through this. And I think that, it's like, okay, this too shall pass. Difficult times, difficult clients,
Yeah.
not making any money,
Yeah.
this too shall pass.
Everything's going to pass.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sometimes it's harder, but
Yeah.
yes, it will. We
We'll
got to,
get
and then we
through
got
it.
to celebrate the good times,
Yeah.
right? Never
Absolutely.
forget to celebrate the good times. Um, what would be some, well, I'm like, I feel like you've already answered this, but because I was like, is there something our listeners that's not on your resume? It's not anything they could find on LinkedIn, but is there something that would be, our listeners would find surprising about you? I'm like, the COVID thing is, that's
Hmm.
crazy. Uh,
Mm. Okay, what else would they find surprising that they can't read about or they don't know about? That I don't know. I'm a licensed cosmetologist.
what? When
I
did
just
you do this before you got your RN degree,
I
or
did. I did. I went
so
through a
that's what you were
vocational.
doing when you were care? But I could see that too of you because you got to care for people,
Right, right.
right?
Yeah, I
Yeah,
went through a vocational program in high school. And back then, way back then, they wanted to make sure you had, when you were special ed, they wanted to make sure you had
trade or
a
something.
trade. And
Yeah.
so that was the trade that I selected. And so I went through a cosmetology program and kept up my license. My only client is my husband at this point. I won't tell you what I do for him.
Well, this is an E-rating podcast, so you could just release it. I'm sure he doesn't want that to happen. That's funny. So your kids were always the immaculate ones. Then no,
Their
you're like,
hair?
yeah.
No,
You're,
no.
Ah, um, is there is there like a book? I mean, obviously your book, but a resource or a podcast that really had like a profound impact on you, or that you listen to? It's like your go to for inspiration or education.
I'm I'm constantly a self-help kind of girl, and I'm constantly listening to Christian, broadcasts and podcasts. So I don't really listen a lot anymore. I want to say I was thinking about what have I listened to lately. I just been listening to the Bible a lot. So I would just say, podcasts on stories of the Bible and
Yeah, inspiration.
different things like inspiration.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
love it. Um, well, before we go, and we're almost, I think we're out of time here. These things go so fast. Always amazed. I only get like a few questions in. Uh, but before you go, how do you want people to learn more about My School Nurse or your foundation? How can people get connected with you, Terri?
Sure. So I have my personal website, which is terribrinston.com. You can find about my book, learn about my nonprofit, my school nurse, I speak, all of my different stuff that I do.
Mm,
You can go to my website and learn about me. Of course, you can also go to myschoolnurse.co, myschoolnurse.co, and learn about My School Nurse. And so if you're a school administrator or counselor or teacher, check that out. And my nonprofit is nurturingwellnessgroupfoundation.org. So the easiest way is to go to my website, terribrinston.com, and you can learn
get
about
all
all of this
connected.
crazy stuff that I do.
Well, this was fantastic. I loved your journey and I loved your story,
Mhm.
providing some good insights there. Thank you
Thank you
for
so
coming on the
much.
show.
Thank you for
Well,
having
into
me.
the chaos that
Yep.
we live in. Uh, for everyone listening or watching us, thank you for joining us. Again, this podcast is available on your favorite podcast platforms. So subscribe to Hello Chaos, give us a 5-star review on Apple or Spotify, and share this content and help us build a more connected entrepreneurial community. Hello Chaos is one of the many resources brought to you by Orange Whip. That is Orange Whip, WIP, for work in progress, because that's what we all are as founders. Orange Whip is a multimedia company dedicated to serving founders and entrepreneurs in affiliate cities. We're in 3 South Carolina markets today, looking to expand to other cities in the coming year. Every city needs an Orange Whip. We have fresh, local, engaging stories. We have curated calendars so that we are dropping the networking events, the incubators, the accelerators, the grant deadlines. All of those things we're curating in that local market. We're also curating a dynamic resource directory. So founders can go in and filter based on what their needs are and the resources that are available to them, which most of them are free in every market. So we've designed these hyper-local media platforms to inform, inspire, and be the independent connective tissue between founders and the local entrepreneurial ecosystem. We've done all the hard work for them, only need to go to one trusted place to find the local information they need. If you'd like to be a guest on our podcast or support us, send us an email to hello@orangewhip.com. And thank you guys for tuning in. This is where AHA meets Oh Shit, and we will see you again next week.